Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today we are going to do my December reading wrap-up. I know it's a little bit late, but I've been under the weather. I think I got the flu or something. Still recovering from it, but I feel good enough to make a video today, so that is what we are going to do. In December, I read 14 books, kind of. 2 of them were basically short stories, so it was a little bit less than I wanted to, but I opened up December with COVID and I ended it with the flu, so I just got less reading done than I had intended, but I still read some great stuff this month. So we're going to start off. Remember, there are going to be some slight spoilers when I do these reviews, but I'll leave a list of the books that I'm covering down below. So the first book I read this month was The Language of Ghosts by Heather Fawcett. It's one of her middle grade fantasy books. It's basically Howl's Moving Castle, except that the island moves instead of a castle. It was really great. I gave it 4 stars. It's witty, it's funny, it has great character work, a really good antagonist that's very easy to root against. The magic here was inspired from the Earthsea Cycle series, I feel like, by Ursula K. Le Guin, because it's that sort of magic where, if you can read it, you can do that magic. And there's different languages, and there's hidden magics that have been lost for a long time that one of our characters ends up being able to read. Yeah, it's just really, really good stuff. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book a lot. One of the better middle grade fantasies I've read this year. Well, in the year 2025, because now we're in 2026, but in 2025 was definitely one of the better middle grade fantasies I read. Really, really liked it a lot. Okay, and then the second book I read in December was The Hogfather by Terry Pratchett. This is part of his Discworld series. This is actually the last book in the Death sub-series of the Discworld. Of course, you don't really have to read any of these books in order. You can just kind of read them as standalones whenever you want, for the most part. Which I did here because I had not read any of the other Death books. But I say that to say, this book still worked. Everything that happened in here made sense to me. I really enjoyed my time in this book. I thought the humor was spot on. It was the most funny Terry Pratchett book I've ever read. I thought Death, basically cosplaying as Santa, had some really sweet, tender moments, especially when he saves the one girl who died and kind of brings her back to life. Him cosplaying as Santa, basically at what would be the Discworld version of the mall, I guess, was really awesome. There were some other really solid moments. Basically, anytime Death was pretending to be Santa, I really, really, really enjoyed. And then we have the assassin storyline that's going on with Susan, which I thought was really good and moved the plot along, and it's what made the book more of a fantasy. I really enjoyed that plot arc, and the reason about why Death had to become Santa was not Santa, the Hogfather, my bad. He's called the Hogfather in this world. Was really interesting, and I thought it really delivered there, and I thought the climax was really, really well done. Both tense in action and emotion. I thought the overall theme of belief that is in the Discworld played really well into this story, and I just really like that theme in general, so it really works for me, especially in books like this. Yeah, but I say that to say there was one part of this book that dragged a little bit, and that's the whole university arc that's going on here with the wizards. I just don't find those characters to be compelling. I never found the wizards to be compelling in any of the Discworld books that I've read so far, which has only been 3, but anytime the wizards come up, I get a little bit bored, and that was the case here. They're not a major part of the book, but they do have a whole arc, so that part of the book dragged for me, so I can't say the pacing of the book is my favorite, but the parts that worked in this book really, really, really worked for me. I gave it 3.5 stars. I think it's very good. Okay, and then up after that was Letters from Father Christmas by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have a whole review about this book on this channel, so I'm not going to give a full in-depth review here, but I did love that book. I love it. It is just J.R.R. Tolkien cosplaying as Santa, writing letters to his real-life children who were children at the time. And he did that for 23 years, and it's just awesome. It's charming. It's emotional. It has some really fabulous world building in there with some great humor. It's very Tolkien-esque. You can tell he threw in world building from the Silmarillion in here, but he made it more North Pole just really, really great stuff. And if you like J.R.R. Tolkien's work in Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and Silmarillion, I would highly recommend you read this. I gave it 4.5 stars. Okay, then I read How to Train Your Dragon by Cressida Cowell. I like this book a lot too. This is another great middle grade fantasy. I read some really great middle grade fantasy this month. Just some really great art in here too, which I really enjoyed. The humor in here was very spot on. Toothless, just super easy to root for. Really great character. I thought the climax was good too. It is short, really greatly paced as well. It doesn't feel any longer than it actually is. And yeah, just the character work here. I really like the dragons and the people in the book. I felt they all worked, and yeah, it is. You can read it as both as a standalone and part of the series, because there are like 10 other books in the series, but it reads very much like a standalone if you wanted to read. I haven't read the second. I probably will in the future at some point, but for now, I'm very content with just reading the first one. This is from somebody who hasn't seen the movie, so this actually makes me excited to one day watch both the animated movie and I think the live action one, which I don't think has come out yet, or maybe has already come out. But yeah, I'm excited to watch both after reading the book. It was a great time. Go Toothless. I gave it 4 stars, by the way. Just great book. Okay, the next 3 books, I'm just going to kind of review them together because I have similar thoughts about all 3. And that is the His Dark Materials trilogy by Phillip Pullman. That's The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, and The Amber Spyglass. I think these are good books. I gave them 3 stars. I think they're good without being great. The things that are good about them, I think they're like a good gateway fantasy. Like if you want to get introduced into fantasy, I think this is a good way to do it. I think it has a really good setting. I think the climaxes in all 3 books deliver in like great ways. I love the climaxes of all 3 books. The way the books wrapped up in each of the books, book 1, book 2, book 3, really like encouraged me to read the next one. And in terms of book 3, it even made me tear up a little bit. I thought our main character, well, really our main 2 characters, were just really good protagonists that are very easy to root for. The books are very tropey, but the tropes are classic and they all work out really well. So yeah, the books have a lot of positives. The thing that drags it down a bit for me is I think these books are a little bit long. They're a little bit bloated. And I don't love how weird some of the plot decisions are. Like some of the plot decisions that Philip Pullman makes here just feel very strange and like odd. And I don't mean like they're like wrong decisions to make, but they were like, oh, well, now they're doing portals into different dimensions now, and oh, nope, this dimension is actually connected to this one, and this knife can break, but it can't break, but it can break, and talking polar bears, you gotta don't remember about them. It's like, what am I reading right now? It felt very science fiction-y at times, which is strange because this is just built as a straight fantasy. I didn't love that. Did not love that. I also just don't love the way this author writes women. I don't think he writes women very good, so that bothered me quite a bit. But, like I said, overall, the positives still outweigh the negatives. It's still a good series. I thought all 3 books read exactly the same. They were all good to me without being great. So I gave each of the 3 books 3 stars. Okay, and we're going to do the next 3 books together because I have reviewed 2 of the 3 on this channel already, and the third one I'm going to make a full review for at some point, and that would be the Greenbone Saga by Fonda, Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy. Who knew that Kung Fu meets The Godfather meets epic fantasy could work? And I can tell you, it just does. This series delivers as a whole. I highly, highly, highly recommend reading the series, but you probably already have read this series. I'm late to the bandwagon. I know that. This series is awesome. And Jade City, the first book, it has this moment about 50% of the way through. Well, it's a little over 50, like 60% of the way through, where I was like, this book's, very good, but I don't see, why it's considered among, the best trilogies of all time. And then something happens that I can only compare to, A Game of Thrones by J.R.R. Martin that's just, shocking in value and changes the game completely. And from there to the end of book 1 is perfection. I think book 1 is the weakest of the 3, but it's still great because some of the decisions she makes halfway through to the end of the book is so mind-bogglingly perfect. And then book 2, J.R.R. It's a classic setup book, but it has its own arc too, and she covers 5 years in that book, and she expands the world in that book in ways that don't take away from the story, but make it larger in scale. And she really like refines the characters in like a great way in that book. I don't mean she like changes the characters, but she manages to focus on them while expanding the world at the same time. It just really works. That book's great. And there's so many like fake outs and twists and turns in that book. I really love that book. And then Jade Legacy. Jade Legacy is one of the best books I've ever read. The book takes place over 20 years, but it doesn't lose its flow ever. Like it feels seamless and perfect. I don't know how she did that. Like it's crazy that she was able to make a book take place over 20 years, but it doesn't feel like we missed anything at all ever. And it has one of the best ends I've ever seen to a series. Like, it's just so good. Just so good. Easy 5 stars for me. I love that book. And I'm going to do a full review of that book on this channel. I'll link the reviews I did to Jade City and J.R.R. down below. Jade Legacy will be coming out. I'll be coming out with a review for that later this month. But yeah, if I were to give overall star ratings to each book, I think the first book is 4 stars. That's Jade City. And then I think the second book, J.R.R., is also 4 stars. And then I think the last book, Jade Legacy, is 5-star masterpiece. So, do keep that in mind. And then I read The Grace of the Wild Things by Heather Fawcett. This is another middle grade fantasy she did. This is basically a retelling of Anne of Green Gables, except with witches. Just awesome. I can't decide if I like it more than Language of Ghosts or not, but it was still a 4-star great book. The character of Grace, just super easy to root for a protagonist. One of my favorite protagonists I read this year, I would say, in 2025. Just really, really good protagonist. And I thought the magic here was awesome. She writes really like interesting like magic. That's, I wouldn't say like a hard magic system, but it's definitely not a soft magic system either. The end was great. I mean, if you've read Anne of Green Gables, you're going to know what's going to happen in this book. But it's a great retelling of it. I really, really enjoyed it. The setting was spot on, perfect again. Yeah, just great book. 4 stars. Would recommend it to anybody. And if anybody wants to try middle grade fantasy, I would recommend reading one of Heather Fawcett's middle grade fantasy books because they're entertaining. Okay, and then I read The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. I try to read this every year. I really love this book. Just I think he puts it great at the note at the end where he's like, when we stop believing, we kind of like lose like living in a fantasy land, and that's what this book is. It's like it's showing you that it's okay to just like have a little belief. Don't be all like grumpy and old. Like, have magic during the holiday season. And yeah, I really enjoy that. And this book, has some great artwork, and it's very short. It's like 30 pages. You can read it in like 20 minutes. Really, really, really good book. And I would say it's better than the movie, even though I do actually like. I'm a Polar Express movie liker. I do enjoy the movie. I gave it 4 stars. It's just a great book. Hard to give it over 4 stars because it's very short. There's not really that much there, but great book. Okay, then I read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Or Bronte, I'm not sure how you say it exactly. What's weird about this book is it's kind of billed as a romance by people online or a revenge story. And while I think it's way more of a revenge story than a romance, I really don't think it necessarily fits into either. It is a love story. It's about love, where the central theme is love, and it's the driving motivation for our main character. Well, really our main 2 characters. But it's definitely not, the story's not about the romance, and it's about what love does to a person, kind of. It's about the toxicity of people at the same time. It definitely has revenge elements to it, for sure, but it's really about love and what it can do to a person. And it's very interesting read, and I really liked basically from the end of the first act to the end of the book. I thought it was just like a crazy like train ride where we're stopping at all these different points, and it's like my mind was getting blown by what happened. It was like, what the heck am I reading right now? Like, this is insane what just happened. Some of the plot decisions in this were just really spot on shocking, but not just for shock value. They were like good at the same time. Yeah, this book's great. I can understand why it's a classic. It's 4 stars for me. It's a great book. I really loved the end of this book. The end of this book was heartwarming and scary at the same time, and just really good. But what I will say is that if you're going into this expecting a romance, then you're going to probably be disappointed, because that's not what this book is at all, even though it's kind of what it's billed as, which is strange to me. I heard there is a movie coming out in 2026. I don't think it's going to be good based on the trailer. It does not look like it represents the book at all, but do keep that in mind. A live-action movie starring Margot Robbie is coming out this year. Okay, and to close out December, I started my Dresden Files journey. I read Stormfront, which I gave 3 stars. I think Stormfront was funny. It was humorous. I really felt it read like a 1990s cop TV show, basically, detective TV show, which was sitcom, basically, which was very interesting. It felt like Blue Bloods in a way. I really enjoyed that part of it. I thought the humor was like spot on, and I enjoyed some of the world building, particularly the vampire stuff. The vampire stuff was good. I won't say it was like my favorite vampire stuff I ever read, but it was still quite good, and the climax delivered for sure. Harry Dresden was an interesting character. I was fascinated by him so that was positive, but I can't say that like I loved him. I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was good without being great. I just thought most of the characters were kind of hard to like root for. They were kind of a mess. Maybe a mess is the wrong word, but they were hard-headed, and they didn't make it easy to like them a lot of the times. And I don't think he writes women particularly well, Jim Butcher. So all the female characters fell a little flat for me. They just didn't feel real. That was a bit of a problem. But like I said, the positives here were the humor, the sort of nostalgia for like 90s detective shows, and just sort of the magic of the world and the world building. But that brings me to book 2, which I also read this month. It's the final book I read, Full Moon. I did think this was an improvement on book 1, just because I thought the werewolf stuff that was done in this book was great. I loved the werewolf world building that was done in this book. I thought that was awesome. Like, really, really well done. I don't even, like, kind of remember everything I read, because it was so detailed in terms of how the different kinds of werewolves that could be used here. But when I was reading, I was like, oh, yeah, this is amazing. Like, I love that this is included in this book. And it has encouraged me to read more of the series. I'm definitely going to read more of the series, because I heard it gets like great in like book 4, but I thought book 2 was like a step up from book 1. It still kept the same humor and charm from book 1, but also had the same problems where the characters were really hard to root for. They were kind of just mean, I would say, and making like dumb decisions constantly, and sort of ignorant at other times. And I also think he continues to not write women very well. But I still think book 2 was a big improvement. I gave it 3.5 stars. And I will read more of the series to see if it steps up even farther in the future. But anyway, those were my 14 books I read in December. Let me know down below if you have read any of them or what you read in December. As always, thanks for watching.